Hi, my friends. I want to introduce this story I wrote from a meditation that I had after seeing 7 rainbows in 7 consecutive days. I heard as I saw a double rainbow on the seventh day. It is finished. The end of all conflict. Now, make no mistake, it's very clear to me that conflict exists in our outer world. We would be foolish if we said it didn't exist. However, what I believe God was speaking to my soul was simple. Begin to see the end of conflict. Envision it. And by envisioning it together, we could give birth to peace on earth. I truly believe these are the end times. We're facing some of the greatest decisions in the history of the earth. We could be destroyed by our fears or be given a new chance of love and peace with the help of God and our creative mind, which always gives birth to what we believe. Believe in fear, give birth to fear. Believe in peace, give birth to peace. Join me in envisioning peace on my Facebook and Instagram pages, Ver la Paz, see the peace. Ver la Paz is Spanish for see the peace. Or join me also by going to the link on my website, bosebastian.com/Ver la Paz. Thank you, and as always, God be with you, and you have an amazing day and week.
The drop of water. What would love do now? One law exists in the heavenly realm. Whatever the mind of God receives, the womb of love creates without question. From this supreme place of consciousness, one perfect drop of water was conceived in the mind of God. It was then formed and expressed in the depths of the ocean of perfect love, which is the womb of all creation. In due time, a droplet was born from the womb, surrounded by peace, which is the foundation of love. Only peace could enter the depths of this ocean and exist with perfect love. From the heavens, in the time of the ocean's inceptions, it was given only one great law by God. Love was to ask of itself, always, what would you do? And then do it. As other laws came into existence, this first law of love in action would become the greatest of all laws. Born into the calm waters of the deep, a new droplet of water was created. The droplet, in turn, felt the presence of complete security because it knew of no other law but love. As the droplet grew into a fully grown drop of water, it decided to depart from the calm of the deep and ascend to the top of the ocean of love to discover whatever was above it. The warm sunlight, the storms, the exciting lightning, the beautiful clouds, the torrents of rain, and the fierce wind were some of its initial discoveries. Sometimes what the drop of water experienced beyond the depths of secure love frightened it. The drop would then let itself sink back into the arms of the ocean of love, where it always knew, without doubt, it could find security and be connected to a permanent current of love. More and more, though, it seemed, the drop grew curious about what existed beyond the confines of peace and love. So again and again, the drop floated to the top of the ocean, being swept away by small waves, which carried the drop to large rocks with a crash. There the drop always experienced separateness for a moment. Then as waves do, they recede back into the ocean of love, and the drop receded with it, gladly moving from the fear of the unknown rock to the place of love and security. Growing day by day, the drop's urge to experience more separation beyond love and security surged higher than its fear. It saw this hard place of rock beyond the ocean now as wonder and delight. As sure as the waves continued to flow into the shore, the drop found itself more and more curious about the journey of the waves and wanted to experience more of its self apart from love. So the drop would rise to the top of an even larger wave, each time gathering its courage to move farther and farther into the hard places he now called land. On the land, the drop found itself surrounded by other drops with the same desire to experience the land of separation. They too were also flung into the land, merging, then clinging to each other more and more for their autonomy. Sometimes the drops would cling so long that the sun above would transform them into air. Then, without volition, they would be in the hands of the heavens again, becoming clouds, then rain, and fall back into the ocean of love with the next rainfall. This happened over and over again, but more and more times the drops rose in stronger numbers with their desire for separateness. Again, though, they would be absorbed into the air, flung into the heavens, and poured back into the ocean of love. The short experiences of life in the land of separation, apart from the ocean of love, kept the individual drops hoping that the receding tide would give it more and more time to experience its self. On one such journey into the land of experience, the individual drop conferred with the other drops, clinging to the same hard rock. Together they created a brilliant idea. Maybe if all of the individualized drops clung together, magnetized by their equal desire to stay separate, they could remain longer in this amazing new land of adventure to experience all of the land's beauty and all of its exotic wonders. The drops in unison agreed, though they didn't understand that their departure from love and peace would give rise to more than just excitement. Choice gave them two opposite realities, truth and the exact opposite of love. All the drops around the single drop, magnetized together by the same idea of separateness, formed a larger amount of water and stayed together with this one thought: to be completely separate and apart from love, to get to choose whatever they wanted without question or contradiction. Meanwhile, the ocean of love knew that there was a portion of itself that wanted to be separate. As it always did, though, love asked itself, "What would you do?" And the answer to this question from the creator of love to the oneness of the ocean was to freely release the drops that wanted to be separate, giving them their own volition and choice. When the group of drops that wanted to separate from love became large enough, they decided to wait for the strongest, highest wave, then ascend to the peak of that wave and be swept so far out into the exotic land that they would never be sent back into the ocean of love. Because of their bond of desire, a huge wave swept them into a large chasm of rock, far enough away from the ocean where there would be no receding back into the loving arms of the ocean. They were trapped in the confines of this chasm of hard rock that was lodged into the foundation of the land. The drops desperately clung together, separate and yet destined together to experience separation from what originally created and sustained them. Some individualized drops were too afraid, though, to remain separate, so they floated to the top and were gathered by the loving sun and taken back into the heavens, while the other drops clung to the bottom of the rock, wanting to experience their destiny, good or bad, merging with the crushed rock and creating dense mud, which sunk to the bottom of the water, where they clung together even harder. These original drops of water would one day become allies and leaders of a sea of separation. But all they knew then was that their single bond of separation from love kept them clinging to the bottom of the chasm of rock, where they felt securely bonded. As the ocean does, it had many more strong waves and larger amounts of individualized drops of water, had the same ideas of separating from love. As destiny would have it, each of the strong-willed drops eventually landed in the same large chasm of rock. As many years passed, the body of mud and water in the chasm became larger and larger. So large, in fact, that its power was able to push the rocks ahead and behind and create a stream which its collective power now traveled alongside of the ocean. After many years, and as the stream gained power and attracted more and more like-minded individualized drops, the stream collected into a small sea. Importantly, what kept the drops of water together was one single thought of being separate and strong, on its own and apart from the loving ocean. The small sea in time experienced the same sun, storms, wind, and rain as it grew to a larger sea. It even began to form waves and act in similar ways as the ocean of love, using the power of the sun and the force of its own intention of separation to gather more individualized drops to it. In many ways, the sea of individuality and separateness looked and felt exactly like the secure ocean of love. But from the heavens, the creator of all drops of water could see that the sea would never hold the seemingly limitless power of the ocean of love. The drops within the sea, though, saw their force as powerful and clung to it with fervor and delight, longing and searching for even greater force. Unlike the one mind of the ocean of love, the sea created leaders that directed it to collect more and more of its own kind and steal from the land what it could to sustain its force. Some droplets were now being born into the sea, never having had any knowledge of the ocean of love. These droplets became an army for the original allies of the sea, working tirelessly to conform the individualized drops of water to one thought of separateness. As this was happening, strong waves of emotion surged from the depths of the sea to become the complete opposite of love. In the sea, there were many different ideas within the many drops of water. These groups of even greater separateness collected themselves in small pockets within the sea, forming little inlets and bays, each with its own desire and collective thoughts. Some drops even began to conceive from their desire monsters in the depths of the sea. They imagined that these monsters had the same type of power as the unlimited good of God. Unbeknownst to the drops of the sea, these monsters could only appear and move by the fear of the many separated drops in the sea. The monsters had no will of their own. They were only real to those who believed in the reality of the monsters. This fear of the monsters kept the individual drops of water clinging to each other. They listened even more carefully to the advice of their leaders on how to protect themselves from the phantom monsters. The leaders in turn realized that invoking fear would give them the power they desired over the individualized drops of water in the sea of separateness. As the monsters grew in consciousness, the fear of the monsters grew beyond the boundaries of the sea. The scared drops found more and more places to exist within the sea's confines, apart and separate from the whole. They fought each other for safety from the monsters. They also fought to have their own beliefs about the monsters. Some even believed that the monsters in the sea were created by the god of the ocean of love, coming back with wrath to destroy them. At this, the sea's leaders laughed and mocked them privately. Some inlets and bays within the sea began to fight the monsters, while other factions simply prayed with the far-off belief that they could once again be part of the ocean of love. If they could just rise to the surface of the sea long enough, perhaps the forgiving sun would see fit to allow them to merge with the heavens once again and come back as rain and return to the ocean of love. But when they tried this, the rain poured them back into the sea of separateness because of their lack of faith in love. Some drops from the sea continued to have faith, though, at least enough to rise back to the top again and again, to be taken by the sun with hope. Others lost hope and dropped back into the sea of desperation and fear. None of the drops realizing, however, that all they had to do was return to the one perfect law of the ocean. This original law from the heavens was completely forgotten by the sea as a whole. As this was happening, the ocean of love heard the prayers of the hopeful, still existing in the sea of separateness, and felt compassion. So they asked themselves, what would love do? The answer came quickly to the ocean of love from the highest source of consciousness. Love would now create a canal that could begin to transport those drops of water that wanted to reconnect with the loving ocean. So in connection with the land and rocks, the heavens used its great power to carve out a canal, connecting the sea to the ocean. Now the drops that found their way to the pathway back to love could use the canal to return home, to the womb from which they had been birthed, to the ocean of love. But at the entrance to the ocean of love, there was a large gateway that could only be opened by the correct answer to one question. So what became of the original drop of water who was born in the depths of the ocean of love and chose separateness? Well, as the stream became a sea and grew stronger, the original drop saw that some were leaving the sea to go back to the ocean of love. The original drop, now bonded by the force of many allies around it, secretly became afraid that the sea would lose its strength and force if too many drops left. So the original drop became the voice of the monster through its allies, through the strong waves of power, and through the current of fear beneath the waves. The original drop caused the monster to rise out of the sea with roars and threats, making the sea destructive and stirring the life force within it, confusing all those within. This caused the fear of the sea to increase, capturing those most invested in the power of the sea and urging them to listen to a voice stronger than their own still small voice, never ceasing to whisper that love could help them return home. The sea of desperation will continue to be held together by fear and separateness, and by the allies of the drop who provoked fear. The sea of separation will always stand apart from love. However, now, a pathway to return to the ocean of love has been built by the hope of those drops of water who had turned away from their fear to face the still small but greatest truth within. The only way back from the sea of separation that had been built will always be the canal of truth and peace. Even to this day, at the gateway from the canal to the ocean, those moving forward toward the return to love will always be asked the one simple question to which only you know the answer. The end. A personal message from me, Bo Sebastian. On my daily walks before the recent storms, I saw 6 rainbows in 6 consecutive days, when I hadn't seen a rainbow since I had moved to Boca Raton. On the 7th day of my daily walk, there were no storm clouds in the sky, so I expected no more rainbows. However, after I passed the 3rd corner of my walk around a golf course, a storm cloud moved in and torrents of rain poured down on me from the heavens. I hadn't brought an umbrella as I had the other days, as there was no threat of rain that day. So I took refuge under a stairwell of an apartment complex near me. When I looked back out into the sky where I'd been walking, I saw not one, but 2 rainbows. And in that moment, I heard a voice say to me, "It is finished, the end of all conflict." Make no mistake, it's very clear to me that conflict exists in our outer world. We would be foolish if we said it didn't exist. However, what I believe God was speaking to my soul was simple. See the end of conflict, envision it, and by envisioning it together, we will give birth to peace. So join me in envisioning peace on my Facebook and Instagram page, Ver La Paz, see the peace. That's V as in Victor, E-R, L-A, P as in practical, A-Z as in zebra. See the peace. Or join me also by going to the link on my website, bosebastian.com. Have a beautiful day, my friends.
Life can get really busy taking care of my home, 2 careers, and my family when your mind can't seem to get quiet to rest. That's when you need to use zeroing out.
I never thought I could quiet my mind in only 3 minutes. Zeroing out works.
I highly recommend Zeroing Out by Bo Sebastian. It's been very helpful for me, and it's helped me navigate through difficult times. It's just a great book. Everyone should get it.
I tried the zeroing out technique, and I have to say it was surprisingly effective and very simple. On those days I'm going 90 to nothing and I just need to slow my brain down for a minute to get back on track. This really has helped me to do that.
Life gets hectic, and sometimes I just don't take the time to clear my mind, especially right after work. The zeroing out method helps me to leave my work at work, so I have a clear mind for the people at home I love.
I've been dealing with clutter in my mind for a long time now. Zeroing out, stop stress in 3 minutes, has completely cured me. Now I can meditate, get quiet, and I'm even sleeping better.
I can't believe how much zeroing out has helped me reduce stress. You've got to try it.
Work for me can get time-consuming and stressful at times, but zeroing out has really changed the way I look at my schedule and my time. Now I can leave my work at work, and I have more time and peace of mind to deal with the people that I care the most about.
Such a step above any other book I've ever seen about this topic, and it's such a simple technique, and I'm able to do it by myself, which I love. So I highly recommend it.